Well, hello there. Today is January 9th, which marks the 5-year anniversary of the time that I fell 30 feet, hit the ground, and didn't die. Aren't you guys happy about that? So, if you'd like to take a minute and sit right there, I'd like to tell you about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and how I became Mr. Clamor. So, real quick, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the story of how it happened, here's the video of it happening. I had this GoPro Hero 1080p. I don't have the full video, unfortunately, anymore, or it is on my old PC, not 100% sure. But anyways, this is a clip I managed to find for this video.
Fuck. Oh. Fuck, 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 fuck! Good thing you had a helmet.
Okay, well, wasn't that horrifying? Or not, I don't know. So basically the rundown of the background on this is that I had only climbed outside one other time. I'd only been climbing for a few months at this point, about 4 months to be exact. And I had met these guys on one other occasion, which was January 1st of 2020. I got invited out by them on January 9th of 2020 to go out to a place called Currahee Mountain to climb some slab. The slab that I fell on was a 5'8". I don't really remember the name of it anymore. Now, it was my first time leading outside. I had just become lead certified for climbing at the gym that week, so I lead climbed like 2 previous times. And when I got invited out there, they warned me that the climb was run out, which for those of you who don't know, basically means that there's huge gaps between the bolts. They also warned me that it was a mixed climb and that we had no trad gear. Now, for those of you who don't know, a mixed climb is a climb that has trad placements along with bolts. They also warned me that the climb was a rated R fall, which basically means if you fall, the likelihood that you're going to get hurt is pretty high. Well, as you could see, I got hurt, and I fell from pretty high. Now, from when I fell and hit the ground, the first thing I did once I calmed down was I called my boss and I let him know that I wasn't going to make it to work that night. And then I called my mom and let her know that I got hurt. From there, the approach to where we were climbing at Currahee Mountain is about half a mile. I managed to crawl while the other guys carried my gear about half of that distance. Then one of the gentlemen who I was climbing with, who's a big beefy guy, carried me the rest of the way up a steep ass hill, which was pretty dope. From there, I drove myself 45 minutes away where I lived, back to my apartment instead of going to a hospital. Now, when I initially got back to my apartment, my plan was to crawl up to my second-story apartment and just lay down. However, as I tried to exit my vehicle, it hurt a lot. So I Googled where the nearest hospital was, and while I was Googling it, a gentleman who is mentally handicapped from my apartment complex walked up in front of my vehicle and just stood there, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind moving out of the way so I can drive myself to the hospital. And his response was to robot at me. Now, I kind of chuckled, even though I was in immense pain at this point, and let him know, hey, please move out of the way. I have to go to the hospital. To which his response was, why do you have to go to the hospital? You know, I had to go to the hospital one time because I drank too much coffee and my heart was beating really fast. I explained to him that I fell significant distance and I needed to go to the hospital. So eventually, after about 10 minutes of more talking, he got out of the way. Now, when I left my apartment, I didn't Google the right address. I Googled an urgent care, thinking that maybe they'd be able to help me. So I pull up to the urgent care and can't walk. So I kind of like flopped out of my car and Army Man crawled up into the urgent care. Now, the staff there looked at me like I was an idiot because there's some guy crawling across their floor, and they asked me what I needed, and I let them know what happened to me. Their response was, we can't do anything for you here. You need to go to the ER. Do you need us to call you an ambulance? I'm not paying for that because I poor boy. So I just asked them to shove me back in my car, and it was like half a mile from the urgent care to the hospital. So I drove myself the rest of the way to the hospital. Once I got to the hospital, I just kind of pulled up to the ER entrance and rolled down my passenger window and started going, "Help! Help!" until somebody came out and asked me what my problem was. And I told them, and they got a wheelchair and helped me out of my car, and then took me in. Again, I was asked, like, what's up? I let them know that I had fallen about 30 feet, and they were immediately like, oh, that's really bad, and took me back to the ICU. Once I was back in the ICU, this is actually like the biggest bummer of the story. I had some new pants. I used to work out a lot, do a lot of squats, so my ass looked fantastic in these pants. They cut the pants off, so the pants are ruined, obviously, if they were cut off. And then I was wearing white tube socks that were up over my ankles, and they pulled them off. So when they pulled the socks off, I'm thrashing. That hurt. And then they gave me fentanyl, which made everything feel better. And then they spent like an hour asking me if I had deliberately jumped off of something to hurt myself, to which the response was no. No, I slipped on slab. That's what happened. I slipped and I fell on slab, and it helped. And eventually they were like, okay, well, I had a hairline fracture in my right ankle, left ankle also a hairline fracture, and a serious sprain. So I got away pretty lucky, all things considered. When I had fallen onto like a big old slab of what you call it? Oh my God, why is the word granite? It's granite slab out at Currahee Mountain. I fell onto a big bed of granite slab that was covered pretty thickly with a mat of pine needles, so I got lucky. The big problem was from there, I had only just moved down to Georgia in November 1st. So I didn't know anybody, and the hospital was saying for me to be discharged, I needed somebody to come pick me up. So I called up one of my employees, and I asked him to come check me out of the hospital and apologize, and offered him $20. And he came and got me, and then, yeah, he picks me up, and he goes, hey, man, so where do you live? And I told him, no, you're not taking me home. My car is right there. You will drop me off at my car, and I will drive myself home. I gave him $20, and he dropped me off 40 feet away at my car. And I drove myself back to my apartment, and then I crawled up to the second story staircase and got to my apartment. And the first thing I did was pull the footy to see what I had done wrong. It took about 2 months to recover from the injury. So that was January 9th. By like March, I don't know, like 10th, I was good to go, out climbing again. My belayer, when I decked, I went back out to Currahee Mountain, to the same climb. I top roped at that time. I saw where I fell at, and I was quite embarrassed because there were good holds like inches away. I was almost at the second bolt when I fell. Yeah, that was a blast. Super fun. My opinion on the matter was it was a blood in, blood out kind of situation. So since I have sacrificed blood and a mildly significant injury, that I will continue climbing. And as you see, I've been climbing a lot, if you know my channel at all. Haha, a jump cut. But yeah, in those 5 years since, been climbing an ungodly amount. I have quit a job that I absolutely hated to do more climbing. I currently live in a converted school bus down the street from like 5 different crags. I have 2 chitlins, one who learned how to walk at the crag, another one who was born at the crag, and an awesome wife. So, yeah. Sweet. Well, it's gonna snow tomorrow, and I've got more climbing I've got to go do. So that's the story, all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. And you've taken a minute to sit right down and listen how I became Mr. Climber. So, goodbye, 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 goodbye.